Hello friends, welcome to Nri Samay. This is your host Vamsi Ala. On today's show we have General Saighal and Col Thapar and Captain Sunil Kujarias. The reason we assembled this great panel is July 26th being Kargil Diwas, and we try to do a show on commemorating the soldiers every year and the sacrifices they have done. Thank you for making your time available today. How are you doing, sir? Hello.
Hi, good morning, all of you.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm Colonel Thapar speaking. Good morning.
Colonel Thapar, sir. Good morning, sir. Let me start off with this question. So the governments have changed. Now the BJP government is in power. Has anything changed since the UPA government and the current government? And what are your expectations? Can you, General Saighal, sir, can you start off with that, please?
Well, after the new government has come into place, a phenomenal boost is being given to defense build-up. We had gaping holes everywhere. Our arms and ammunition were not in sufficient quantities. We didn't have sufficient war wastage rate reserves. There were huge amount of deficiencies in everything. All that area is being looked into very, very critically, and a huge effort is on to plug the gaps all along the border with China as well as with Pakistan. And it's a step in the right direction. And I am sure the country is going to benefit from it in a very major way. We also looking at our deficiencies in the field of Air Force, in the field of Navy, artillery, infantry, air defense. Every single aspect is very professionally and very critically being gone into. However, keeping in mind the costs involved, it will be quite some time before things actually materialize on ground. But the effort is on in a very major way. The UPA government in the last 10 years, really speaking, did not give anything whatsoever what was needed by the defense services. Now it will take quite some to make up those deficiencies, but effort is on in an unprecedented manner.
Right. Do you concur with that assessment, sir, Colonel Thapar?
Yes, I do agree with what General Saighal has just said. But I would like to say that seeing the threat perception of a new variety, the threat from the terrorists and from the another force which is not in uniform, we require to do whatever we want to do very fast, because things are not so well on our western neighbor, and now with the ISIS threat looming in Bangladesh also, we've got to speed up things. We can't allow the cost factor to come into the defense preparedness. Cost factor has always been there, but if we have a policy where we want to do certain things, then we have to kind of make the resources available. The other part, General Saighal has said about the other part is towards the managerial side of both the border and the defense forces. That requires to be, improved quite a lot. So that is the areas where the attention of the government, particularly the reforms that were required to come after the Kargil Review Committee made its recommendations, have not seen the light of the day as yet.
Mm-hmm. Right. When we talk about Kargil Diwas, it's basically a commemoration of the Kargil War, but also of our fallen heroes. And when we speak about our fallen heroes, for us as citizens, it is about soldiers. But for some of your families, like you, Sir Colonel Thapar and Sushil Kujaria's family, you have lost one of your family members. So what do you say what are some of the important things that we need to remember? Though the Kargil War happened in 1999, how should we remember that event, and how do we give respect to our fallen soldiers? So can you, and what are some of the things that society and government can do to remember the sacrifices? Thapar sir, can you take that question?
Yes. You see, the entire episode of the 1999 Operation Vijay, the thing took place because of lack of intelligence and information, and that allowed the Pakistanis to come well into the Indian territory surreptitiously.
Right.
Now, that kind of a thing should never be allowed to happen, because both in terms of the cost to the nation and the cost to the families involved, it is tremendous. It is very huge. And that too emanating from some certain degree of complacency and negligence is really not acceptable. So we have to give it a lot of thought. So far as the people who are concerned, who are killed, the families of the affected people, I believe, they are very painful. It's a very painful experience to go through. But then sometimes I also think that these are costs of war which have to be paid if our sovereignty and our national pride has to be kept in place. So while it is very sad even to happen to any family, and the pain of that can be reduced a lot by what the civil society and the politicians and our leaders, what they do, their actions and their utterances and their follow-up on the family. Because life has to be carried on. There are children, there are wives, there are mothers who are left destitute, and they've got to be looked after. I would say they got to be looked after in terms of what President Obama has said, or his matters.
Right. It's very well said, sir. Captain Sunil, sir, are you there on the call? Captain Sunil? Okay, I think we will move forward. We need to prevent the type of thing that happened with Kargil, where Pakistani military forces and Kashmiri militants were allowed to infiltrate into our borders. So what since 1999, when Kargil happened, has been done? Do you think a major effort has been done to plug those holes? Are our borders any more secure than they were previously prior to 1991? Can you shed some light on it? And if not, where is the present danger coming from?
Well, I believe that a lot has been done, but a lot more also requires to be done. There is a lot of mischief being done by Pakistan across our border, western border. And the problem arises not so much from the governmental sources, because the government over there is helpless. It is the ISI and the non-state players like Hafiz and his gang and the whole lot of other tanzeems that have come up. There are so many, they're running into hundreds. And to keep them under control is becoming a bigger and bigger problem. Now, added to that is the new threat, the international threat of the ISI. So, therefore, there is some kind of global requirement to come down and make sure that such is not done. And people are kept in their place. Now, the Kashmir issue is an issue well settled. There's no dispute about it at all, as far as India is concerned. And Pakistan is all the time imagining that they can alter the boundary or the LOC by use of force. They cannot, and it will only result in more and more bloodshed.
Right. Well said. General Saighal, sir, would you like to add something to the same question, please?
Yeah, I'd like to add a few things. Firstly, my salutation to Colonel Thapar, who lost his son during the Kargil War. He's been very brave. The government of the day is very clear that as far as the homogeneity, sanctity, integrity of the nation is concerned, there can be no compromises. Everything that is required is in the process, in the pipeline. intelligence, which was a huge failure during that point of time, has been beefed up in a very major way. However, there are significant deficiencies even now because Pathankot happened once again as a result of a mega intelligence failure. Same thing when it happened at Udhampur, it was an intelligence failure. In Gurdaspur, it was an intelligence failure. These statements notwithstanding, it has been improved by an order of magnitude. There are more boots on the ground as far as the Chinese border is concerned. Four additional divisions have been raised. We've got a strike corps coming into being. And if you feel the attitude of the armed forces and the government of India vis-a-vis China and vis-a-vis Pakistan is now far more firmer, far more sure, far more confident, and the message has not been lost by either of the two adversaries of ours.
Okay.
Now, when you come down to certain specifics, in the Colonel Thapar mentioned that there were very major areas of weakness, which the Kargil Review Committee said that they ought to be addressed on priority. One was the intelligence. I said as far as intelligence sharing is concerned, timely passage of information is concerned, timely actionable transference of intelligence is concerned, there is a huge boost. In the country, we got anything about 15 to 20 to 30 different agencies. Information being power, each was holding the information onto themselves and passing on to those who had to act on it much too late. Now, those issues have been streamlined to a very, very large extent. There's much better coordination. The NIA is functioning so well. That is the reason why in the last 2 years of this government, there has not even been a single incident whatsoever.
Right.
As against last year, there were 43 militants which came across Pakistan. They were killed. This year, we've already killed 85 of them.
Right.
This year, we captured 17 of them live. Last year, we captured only 5. Despite unbelievable efforts by Pakistan to push in infiltrators on a daily basis, the successful infiltration has been only around 10, and 100% of them were liquidated at the border or within 24 hours of their having come into the country. So those are huge improvements which cannot be denied. The second thing which they said, to ensure better coordination, better integration, better jointness, it was absolutely essential to have a Chief of Defence Staff. This is a critical requirement. All major and professional armies in the world have a Chief of Defence Staff, a one-point advisory man to the Government of India and vice versa. That has not been brought in, with the result that jointness even today is a misnomer. Integration is far from being realized, and the country may once again have to pay a very heavy price for lack of jointness and integration between the Army, the Navy and the Air Force. We continue to function, we continue to have our own turf wars, and this is something that could cause the nation a huge amount of loss of faith in the years ahead. Another area of a major worry, which wasn't there in 1999 war, because that time the world did not face cyber threat. As far as cyber war is concerned and cyber threat is concerned, China continues to attack us on a daily basis through cyber attacks. Pakistan is beginning to do the same thing in a very major way. In J&K, ever since the situation went, after the killing of Burhan Wani, Pakistan has carried out around 60 cyber attacks. We've been able to, negate only about 20 to 25. Cyber security is one area which is of critical concern to us. The Prime Minister, when he met the American President, when he met the Japanese Prime Minister, when he met Stephen Harper, when he met Merkel, when he addressed the joint session of House of Lords and House of Commons in UK, every country he's been stressing, kindly help us develop our cyber security in a very major way, as we need about 1 million cyber warriors in the next 5 years. But once again, the government of the day is very alive, but this CDS is something that ought to be put in place as soon as possible. The moment this government came up, they said this is one area of concern that they're going to attend to. When it's been two and a quarter years, we haven't heard very much of it.
Right.
As regards Kargil War per se, I have a very great personal involvement in this war. Firstly, as a pilot, I flew in that area for 4 years. I know the entire area better than the palm of my hand. And at the time of the Kargil War, I was the air defense advisor de facto to the Chief of the Army Staff and then by extension to the Prime Minister of the country. Hence, I saw the entire warfare from both sides, what was happening on the ground, as well as what was happening in the Military Operations Directorate and the planning between the three services. I wish to tell you that this was the first war which was fought between two nuclear-armed nations, both of whom were democracies at that point of time. The area is the most hostile environment that you can think of anywhere in the world. The peaks there at the base level, the slope is around 30 degrees. As you move up towards Tololing and Tiger Hill, the slopes go up to about 75 degrees. Down below the temperature was in the region of 5 degrees to 10 degrees. Up there was temperature was minus 30 to minus 40 degrees. The chill effect was in the region of minus 60 to minus 70 degrees. I personally feel the Pakistanis had spread them across because of mega intelligence failure over a distance of about 160 kilometers from Zujila Pass right up to a place called Chalunka and Turtuk, which was just south of Siachen. They had occupied all the heights. They had dominated. They had prepared themselves well over a period of 6 months. They were dominating the logistic lifeline of India. They were absolutely certain that they'll be able to cut off Siachen and Leh from us. No army, I repeat, no army in the world, including the US Army, could have dislodged them without use of chemical weapons or mini nukes. Thanks to the bravery of the Indian Army, the Indian soldier and the Indian officer, we were able to achieve the impossible without resorting to use of either the chemical weapons or the nukes, etc. But we had to pay a very heavy price. We lost about 527 very brave sons of India, and 3 times the numbers who got wounded. Now, this is the price that you have to, I suppose, pay for the sanctity and honor of the nation.
We all have to appreciate the amount of sacrifice our military and armed forces have been doing in protecting our nation. Security, sovereignty, integrity of nation is paramount. I think I completely agree with you on that. Given that context, I would like to, if you don't mind me, the unrest that is happening in Kashmir of late, where the civilians, the military is trying to help the civilian, and the civilians in turn are pelting stones and hurting the military, Indian military over there. How do you react to that, sir, if you don't mind me asking?
Unfortunately, Pakistan is beginning to exploit the situation in totality. Burhan Wani, who was killed by the Indian security forces, was a known terrorist. For 6 years we were hunting for him. An award of 10 lakhs was a bounty of 10 lakhs was put on his head. During the 6 years, those who are protecting the safety and the homogeneity of the nation, he continued to attack them. He had now descended down from the mountain passes to the plain area with a view to cause casualties in the Amarnath Yatra, as well as cause a major havoc in the tourist season. And it is at this point of time that he was killed. The moment he was killed, the Pakistanis declared him by saying that he was a martyr, he was a Kashmiri leader, which in actuality it wasn't so. And then we have the problem of the separatists, the Hurriyat and the JK Liberation Front, which is being Pakistan earmarked almost 100 crores, that is about $25 million, to encourage. Firstly, they told the separatists that in terms of tens of thousands, people must assemble at the funeral of this boy, who was an acclaimed terrorist. Obviously, when such a large number gathered, there were disturbances, there were clashes between the security forces, and certain people obviously became casualties in the form of they died and or suffered injuries. Thereafter, the Pakistanis have been telling them to interfere with the functioning and the movement of the Indian Armed Forces by pelting stones on them.
Right.
And thirdly, if you notice, right from that time, every 3 days, the Hurriyat and the JK Liberation Front calls for a band, which creates havoc in the lives of common people, because curfew gets imposed in all 10 districts. Curfew is being on, and this game is going on. We had in 1980s, when Jagmohan was the governor, this thing lasted for 6 months. There was a curfew for 6 months. Tourism came to a standstill. Everything, fruit that is a major revenue generator for the valley, suffered in totality. Prices skyrocketed, and people came down to their senses by saying that the Hurriyat and the JK Liberation Front had sent every child in J&K lost 1 year. But the separatists, their children were sent out to Switzerland, to Paris, to London. They lost nothing. While the people in the valley were suffering, they were living like lords and kings, because of bountiful assistance to them by Pakistanis. So the people's eyes opened up, and they realized that they were being used as cannon fodder by the separatists. However, public memory being short, they after 10 years in 1990s they did the same thing. Then 2008 they did the same thing. 2010 they did the same thing, and now the same thing is being repeated in 2016.
Right.
The difference now is that the government of the day is very, very strong. They've sent a very clear message to Pakistan to stop fooling themselves, stop daydreaming, and if they continue to do what they're doing, then India would be forced to take the next step. By that I mean, they have virtually semi-insurgencies in Baluchistan, in Sindh, in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, in northern areas, Gilgit-Baltistan. If India was to extend a similar support, a moral support, political support, diplomatic support, financial support, we don't have to send a single army man across.
Right.
The condition for Pakistan, the situation for Pakistan will become extremely grim and difficult to manage within a matter of 30 days.
Right.
Their dreams of that economic corridor being laid by the Chinese, $46 billion, will become a naught. There is absolutely no possibility whatsoever of Chinese over a period of time even retaining POK. And the people of Pakistan know that instead of wasting time, effort, energy, money on fighting the Indian nation, they should do that for poverty alleviation. There is absolute no joblessness in Pakistan. The governance is highly suspect and questionable. People don't have enough to eat. There is no electricity. There is no water for 10 to 12 hours a day. The healthcare is dubious. The education is, the education is in madrasas. The Americans and the rest of the world was worried by one Bin Laden. They're training thousands of Bin Ladens every year in their madrasas. Right. If you see all major terrorist events across the globe, whether what happened in Nice, the reports now indicate that man who did that, who took the 25-ton truck and mowed people down, eventually was a Pakistani. Every single terrorist act anywhere in the world, directly or indirectly, the Pakistani hand is there. So it is now very essential for the world to come together and deal with this menace. India has been saying that Pakistan is the epicenter of global terrorism. Nations continue to play games. Even our northern neighbor, China, when we took up the issue twice in the United Nations Security Council to declare certain people as terrorists, despite the fact that out of the 4 permanent members of the UN Security Council and all the 10 non-permanent members sided with India, China blocked it. They blocked it for the second time. They continue to be wishful in their thinking that these terrorists will only cause havoc and mayhem to India, to Afghanistan, and other interests of Saudi Arabia and Pakistan elsewhere in the world, but they will not touch China. It's a grievous mistake they're making. The terrorists are friends of nobody. It's only a question of time when they will attack the Muslim-dominated areas of China, the Uyghur areas, Xinjiang, Tibet in a very major way. And that is the time the Chinese will realize what a folly. You see, they double-cross America for almost 10 to 15 years.
Right.
It is only after 10 to 15 years the Americans realized that Pakistanis were double-crossing them right through. China has yet to realize that they're being double-crossed.
Right. Let me see if Sunil Kajriya is still there. Sunil, sir, are you still on the call? Did we drop you? Are you still there? Hello? Looks like we have a drop of call. India is located at a situation where on the western front we have Pakistan, on the north we have China, and to the east we have Bangladesh, which is not a true enemy, but it acts against our interests. So we are, and then south we have Sri Lanka, which we had our own issues with Tamil Eelam forces and losing our own prime minister to that. So we are in a situation where defense is important. In that, a defense budget comes a major play. Do you see that the Indian government, current government as well as the previous government, have enough budget allocated to the defense? If not, where should they put more money in, and what as experts in defense do you see as India lacking, and where should more money go and where should less money go? Can you put some light on that, please?
Firstly, it's a very, very unhappy situation to be in. Germany lost the First World War, the Second World War, primarily because a second front came into being. Even a very, very powerful nation cannot afford to have war on two fronts. So India is concerned, you have the Pakistanis and the Chinese who are beginning to collude in a very major way.
Right.
The Chinese defense budget is almost about 4 times our budget, and it's been so for the last 30 years. With the result that the gap between the Indian efficacy and the Chinese efficacy, there's a huge, huge gap which is virtually insurmountable. Pakistan also spends almost about 5 to 6% of its GDP on defense. Unfortunately, right through the last 15 to 20 years, the government of India has been spending only about 1.6 to 1.7% of its GDP on defense.
Right.
I personally feel that this is an area which warrants a rethink. Notwithstanding the views of the finance minister and of the government, but I personally am of the conviction that, like most countries, particularly China, etc., they really hide their true defense budget. What has been sanctioned by the current government in the last 2 years actually perhaps is an order of magnitude vis-a-vis the defense budget that I'm talking of. So apparently the government is beginning to boost you up, because aircraft cost a lot, submarines cost a lot. We're going in for more submarines, we're going in for more stealth frigates, we're going in for more stealth destroyers, we're going in for new variety of helicopters, the new variety of guns, new variety of air defense equipment, and a huge amount of other equipment that is of essence. Apparently the money is being found, though it is not figuring in the defense budget, because without money the mayor doesn't run. No country in the world will pass this on to you, either in terms of technology transfer or in terms of pieces of equipment. The fact is that the pieces of equipment are beginning to come in. The contracts have been signed. A huge effort is also being made to make in India, because India, being the third or the fourth largest armed force in the world, was critically dependent on outsiders for its spare parts, for its maintenance, for its sustenance. And every time there was an issue on the borders, particularly after the breakup of the Soviet Union, they will say there are no spare parts available, they have nothing off the shelf, they'll have to cannibalize the equipment. Prices were jacked up by 8 to 10 times. And so did the others. They all acted like Jews, to the detriment of India. The moment the present government came into being, they said there will be no further leaning in the manner that we've been doing on nations across the globe. We will now slowly and steadily build up our own potential, so that in the next 5 to 10 years, everything that is of essence is made in India. And India, not only we are one of the largest importers of defense equipment, in 5 to 10 years, the Prime Minister wants India to be a mega exporter of defense equipment. if you notice, we already started exporting the BrahMos missiles. Then there are, which do not come under the MCTR. So similarly now we had imported from Sweden the Bofors gun, which they did very well. Transfer of technology documents were passed on to India 40 years back, but the previous governments kept sleeping on it. The present government immediately took action, and now we have manufactured within the country a far better and an improved version of the Bofors gun, called it Dhanush.
Right.
And so slowly and steadily, the huge deficiencies in the Indian artillery are going to be partly made up by the indigenously produced guns, and the strike corps requirement of about 7 to 8 regiments are going to be met by transfer, by procurement, government to government procurement of the 145 ultra light medium guns from United States.
Mm-hmm.
This gives us, then we to take on the fact that the Chinese are overwhelmingly superior to us. They've built up a very aggressive infrastructure, laid 50,000 kilometers of highways in Tibet, rail lines backed up by logistic build-up, etc.
Right.
We have gone in for force multipliers and force degraders as far as the Air Force and Navy is concerned. The Air Force has got lots of now laser-guided bombs, terminal-guided bombs, precision-guided munitions. So all this infrastructure which they've laid up in Tibet is at a general height of 16,000 feet. There is no greenery there. All the bridges stand up like sore thumbs. Indian Air Force today has attained the capability of knocking everything out in the first 24 to 48 hours. This has got the Chinese worried, and they've signed a deal with the Russians for the most versatile air defense system, the S-400. The S-400 is going to be used to protect the Chinese in Tibet, as well as take care of the South China Sea, the Americans that side. So now imagine a nation which has invested so much is now investing a fair amount to protect itself from the growing capability of the Indian Air Force. Similarly, as far as the ocean region is concerned, the Chinese have been showing a huge amount of interest in the Indian Ocean region. They virtually surrounded us by a string of pearls. But what the government of India is beginning to do, that from the Horn of Africa, when I say Horn of Africa, I mean Somalia and Ethiopia, to the Straits of Malacca.
Mm-hmm.
We are making sure that in the event of hostilities, the Indian Navy would have the potential and the capability to exercise sea control and sea domination over this entire area. We will not allow a drop of oil or gas, which China is critically short of, to pass without being hindered. And in this, we've gone into certain sort of our defense arrangements with America, with Japan, with Vietnam, with Indonesia. And the tables have been virtually turned. Similarly, I would not like to place on record, but I am of the conviction and I believe that India has transferred a few missiles of a certain potential and capability into Vietnam. With the result, you have the capacity today to cause critical damage to Beijing and Shanghai in a matter of 5 to 8 minutes.
Okay.
Which we did not have earlier. Similarly, we are beginning to strengthen the tri-services, the only integrated tri-services command in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Air Force is beefed up, the Navy is beefed up, the surveillance is beefed up, everything is being beefed up in a very major way because it virtually dominates the Straits of Malacca. The economic corridor that China is very keen to lay through Gwadar and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is primarily meant that they don't cross the Indian Ocean, they don't cross India, and from the Gwadar post they can push up oil and gas through road and rail and pipelines into Xinjiang and on to China.
Right.
They're very, very worried on this, but again their dream of realizing this ECB, economic corridor, according to me is unrealizable. Baluchistan Baluchis do not want it.
Right.
Notwithstanding what the Chinese army and the Pakistan army are beginning to do to Baluchis, once the insurgency picks up in a major way, both the armies will get bogged down. There's nothing that they'll be able to do. As far as northern areas and POK is concerned, the area is even more difficult and more hostile than what is on the Indian side.
Right.
For every one insurgent to be taken care of, you need 100 people in terms of security forces.
Right.
And the situation is totally rife for similar insurgency in POK. Chinese know very well that it's a disputed territory. under the guise of, building up of that Karakoram highway and now this ECB corridor, they've already moved in a division in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. We've seen the equipment being hidden in tunnels. Though they say that they are road building equipment, they are earth movers and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
To secure those areas. Be keeping a good eye on them. The intelligence, I said, is improved to such an extent that it's something that the nation ought to be genuinely proud of vis-a-vis what it was earlier.
Right.
But that notwithstanding, few more things are of essence. If you've seen India is trying its way, since you mentioned Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and Nepal, etc., the Prime Minister is going all out to improve relations with all the countries on the periphery, including we made efforts to improve the relations with Pakistan. We called the Pakistani Prime Minister when he took over. Then when he went to Afghanistan on the way back, he dropped in unscheduled in Islamabad, wished Nawaz Sharif on his birthday. That day was not only his birthday, it was also his granddaughter's wedding. Wished the granddaughter and the family, even touched the feet of Nawaz Sharif's wife. So what else? Every effort is being made to improve relations with Pakistan. But the problem is, while the people of Pakistan, the elected government of Pakistan wants to improve equations and relations with India, it is the ISI and the Pakistan Army, because should that happen, the very raison d'etre of their existence will cease to exist. The eminence that they enjoy in the Pakistani society, that the military there, will stand reduced to a cipher. And that is one reason why they do not want improvement of relations with India under any circumstances.
Right.
Now the relations between India and Bangladesh are on an upswing. We've now very, very cordial relations. Relations between Sri Lanka and India are far better than what was during the previous presidency. As far as Nepal is concerned, after the fall of about 48 hours, the Nepalese Prime Minister KP Oli has resigned. He was absolutely and blatantly pro-Pakistan. The new man who is likely to come in, Prachand, would be a person of a different caliber, though he's a communist, not in favor, but he realizes beyond an iota of doubt that thousands of years of relationship between Nepal and India cannot be wagered for any. You see, when there was a 6-month blockade and virtually not a drop of oil went up, Oli went and signed an agreement with China who said we'll pump in any amount. They were able to pump in nothing. And eventually the Chinese told the Nepalese that you cannot survive without the Indian backing and the Indian support. So this message has been seen by the Nepalese in a very major way. So the government that is going to be formed in the next few days is going to be more or less either equibalanced or pro-India. Similarly, that Look East policy of the previous government has been converted into a very bold initiative of Act East. And Act East we've improved relations with the ASEAN countries, we've improved relations with Indonesia, we've improved relations with Japan, with Vietnam, and which is a huge cause of worry and concern to China. If you've seen, Indian ships are now operating in that area along with the Americans in South China Sea and the East Chinese Sea. And obviously it's an area of growing concern to China, because those are international waters which the Chinese wanted to grab. The Hague Declaration has undone their mischief in a very mega way. They stand totally exposed.
Right.
But they are also worried of the fact that earlier America, India and Japan used to have bilateral naval exercises. This was the first year that we had trilateral naval exercises. They are going to be followed by trilateral air exercises in this area and trilateral army exercises in this area. Right. And in the years to come, the Australian and the Vietnamese and the Japanese and the Indonesian armed forces will also form part of this growing. You see, everybody is interested. Almost 5 trillion tons of international trade passes through that area. Chinese have officially they what they own is only 12 nautical miles of territorial waters. Wherever they are claiming 3.5 million square kilometers of sea, up to 1,000 kilometers south of the Hainan, the southernmost island of theirs.
Right.
There are two islands there, Paracel and Spati, which are inhabited islands. They've taken them over despite the similar claims by the Philippines, by Malaysia, by Japan, by Taiwan, by Brunei, and other countries. They couldn't care a damn because of the military might, the economic clout, the demographic clout, the geographic size. Plus, there are about 100 uninhabited islands, which are virtually rocks. And some they've created, the artificial islands, and the purpose of occupying those 100-odd rocks and these artificial islands, they want to claim 200 nautical miles exclusive economic zone all around these islands. The Hague Declaration categorically states that wherever there are these rocks, they have no territorial or international or EEZ of their own. And hence, China's claim is absolutely and totally bogus.
Right.
This notwithstanding, the Chinese are beginning to conduct three months of mega exercises in that area, are warning the American Navy and the American Air Force to stay. But nobody is going to allow them. So this has given India much greater opening with ASEAN, as well as Australia, New Zealand, Japan, America, etc., than hitherto. And we definitely would use this clout to take on Chinese in whatever way the government of India eventually decides to do so.
Right.
But at the strategic level,
right.
If you notice, when this government came up, and little before that, we had major 17-day standoff at Deepsang Valley. We had standoff with China in Chumar. Now, for the last 1 year, there are no standoffs.
Right.
We are beginning to look them into the eye, and with conviction. And we said, should there be a need to open fire, India will do everything under the sun to ensure the sanctity and homogeneity of its territory. There is no price that is acceptable to India which the nation is not willing to pay to defend its territorial integrity. And the Chinese have understood the message loud and clear.
Absolutely. I think you made it loud and clear. It's absolutely true. I would like to rope in Colonel Thapar on this. So far we've discussed, and historically for us, Pakistan has been a pain in the neck, right? We've had wars waged with them, and even in 1999, Kargil, it was with Pakistan. But post 2000 and all, and if we look at it, China has been trying to be the aggressor, beat India, beat international waters elsewhere. It seems like China is a bigger threat to India than Pakistan is and was moving forward. Is that a right assessment? I mean, Colonel Thapar, sir, can you throw some light on that? Would I be wrong if I said that statement that moving forward, China is a bigger threat to India than Pakistan is? Hello?
There seems to be some connectivity problem with him. You want me to take this on?
Yes, please, yes.
As far as the Indian nation is concerned, as the Indian Armed Forces is concerned, we consider Pakistan as a brother enemy, whose ability to do mischief to us is minuscule. As you said, it's an absolute fact that China is a major enemy and an area of critical concern to us. Its ability to do mischief and damage to India is an order of magnitude vis-a-vis what Pakistan can.
Right.
And if we gear ourselves and beef up our ability to withstand China, automatically our ability to withstand anything from Pakistan will go up by hundreds of times. As it is today, Pakistan is no match or no patch on the Indian Armed Forces in every area.
Right.
This difference between the Indian Armed Forces and the Pakistanis will continue to increase many, many times, because now we are gearing ourselves to be able to match up to China in a time frame of about 10 odd years. because it will take us lots and lots of time to close the gap which came into being because of neglect in this area for the last 30 years.
Right.
And China continues to be very similar. The very fact that we've opened up a mega dialogue with Israel, with America, with Vietnam, with Japan, with Indonesia, is all steps in the same direction.
Right. Right. I would like to, I think we are running out of time. One last question. Before I ask that question, I would like to bring some facts, right? When it comes to the fatalities on the Indian side, civilians and security personnel, since 2010, we have seen a drastic reduction, right? In way back in 2010, the civilian casualties from militants, etc., has been about 759, and from the military armed forces that we lost, our personnel that we lost in militancy or direct war was 431. And when it comes to 2015, the civilian casualties has come down to 181, and the military person that we lost has been 155. I mean, every life is important, but if we have to look for some positive, there is a positive where from 371, the number of people that we have lost has come down to 155. There is a silver lining to that, and all credit goes to our armed forces and military that protect us day in, day out. It's just not at the borders. It's within the nation that our army protects us. The facts tell the story outright, right? Even the civilian casualties have come down from 759 to 181. Having said that, when it comes to taking care of our own armed forces, military forces when they have retired, it seems that we are not doing good job of taking care of them. For example, one rank, one pension issue that the retired military folks have been fighting for, and the government has not been willing to concede. Can you throw some commentary on that?
There are several issues that you picked up. One is the reduction in civilian casualties and increase in the casualties in the armed forces. The restraint that the Indian armed forces show when dealing with civilians is of a variety that no other armed forces anywhere in the world show.
Absolutely.
We realize even in Kashmir that people belong to us. It's the battle for hearts and minds, and there's a certain amount of risk that ought to be taken, and we are taking a risk way beyond the normal as far as dealing with civilians is concerned. Now coming down to the one rank, one pension, and even the 7th pay commission, right from the 3rd pay commission, firstly the Indian armed forces are totally apolitical,
right,
and they ought to be accountable, like in any other nation, like in America, to the political dispensation. Unfortunately, the political dispensation, because of being totally unprofessional and unsure of themselves, has given away that right to this bureaucracy.
Right.
And the bureaucracy, over a period of time, since the time of the 3rd pay commission, has continuously lowered the prestige, the integrity of the Indian armed forces in a very major way. The 7th pay commission, we've got about 21 to 22 central services, which are known as civil services. The 7th pay commission now puts the armed forces lower than the lowest of the civil service. They say civil services is the one which virtually runs the nation on behalf of the government, and the armed forces have to be subservient to them. This is something that is going to cause the nation hugely if the government of the day does not intervene and rectify it. Second thing, when you come down to one rank, one pension, the greatest committed vote bank that the Modi government had was its veterans.
Right.
Not only the veterans themselves, but each veteran was backed up by about 8 to 10 family members who were absolutely and totally committed to vote for the present government.
Absolutely.
I think this is an act of greatest stupidity and folly to have lost this entire vote bank in a jiffy. What they've given, and had they given what the armed forces wanted, one rank, one pension, as per the definition agreed by the Supreme Court of India, by several committees, by two two parliaments, what the government has given and what they have not given, had they gone ahead and given the entire thing, it would have cost perhaps just about a few 100 crore more.
Right.
For a, it is a question of penny foolish and pound wise, whatever is the saying. I can't understand why the Prime Minister of the country remained mum and allowed the Finance Minister, who has major differences with the army. He fought the election in Amritsar. Nobody voted for him, and he feels that he does not have a chance in fighting any. He cannot win a Lok Sabha seat on his own anywhere in the country, and he knows the reason behind that is the Indian Armed Forces. They have no confidence in him. They have no faith in him. They don't trust him. And the Prime Minister, unfortunately, hasn't been able to rein him in.
Right.
But if these anomalies are not corrected, sooner or later, a political aspect notwithstanding, government will have a mega problem on its hands.
Right.
I can see the writing on the wall. I am sure the bureaucrats see the writing on the wall, but they're persisting with their follies. The political dispensation ought to see it immediately and rectify before it's too late.
Right.
My conviction is before the 2019 elections. Since vote bank makes a huge difference, the government will make amends. They are only waiting for the so-called appropriate time.
Right. Society has to take care of its veterans. Hope the government will come to its sense and does what it absolutely has to do when it comes to the veterans and their welfare. And with that, I would like to salute all the veterans and all the military folks that are serving the nation, and we salute all the martyrs that served our nation. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.